Hello, everyone. I'm Thom. In the years since the coronavirus disruption started, I've been taking this time to eat beef jerky and talk to you on the internet. I'm not an expert or a food critic, I just like beef jerky. But this vlog has been good fun, and it's been letting me explore some fun ideas with you, especially regarding game design. It's been a very long time since my last jerky video, and I've found some new flavors, so I want to try them with you. Also, I finally managed to get sick with COVID a month ago, so I can finally speak from experience when I agree with everyone else. COVID sucks. Oh, whoa. Do not recommend. Anyway, it is the 6th, no, it is the 3rd of June, 2025. Um, this happens to be the 71st episode of my beef jerky vlog. Um, what can I say? Not a round number, but the last one was. Um, and I've been fascinated recently by some things that I've been seeing. Um, Everyone understands that Dungeons and Dragons has little figurines, always has. And way back in my youth, they were made out of pewter or lead and then painted because that was cheap and easy to do injection molding, basically. Um, and these figures were basically coming out of America and also Europe. Meanwhile, Japan had its own particular path to Dungeons and Dragons, and and figures and characters, which led them to the path of giant robots and giant robot TV shows, and then giant robot plastic models. For whatever reason, plastic models, and especially these really high precision, snap together, high quality plastic models, became Japan's arena and no one else's. America dropped out. I don't know of any really at all good American manufacturers of plastic models today. Um, and the Bandai Corporation is a behemoth in Japan, pumping out little plastic model kits for people around the world. Um, so there have been fascinating advances in these two separated realms over the last 5 to 10 years. In the Dungeons and Dragons figurine realm, of course, the big advance has been 3D printing. 3D printers have really advanced by leaps and bounds over the last decade, and they've advanced to the point where basically the little figures can all be printed at home instead of some company having to injection mold them. um, in fact, what I read, I think, is that the little figures that you see on the screen in front of you were all on the bottom. Were all 3D printed, and there are two kinds of 3D printers: resin printers and FDM or filament printers. The filament printers are generally older and considered more coarse. Um, the resin printers today are the most popular option for those who want to print little 28 millimeter Dungeons and Dragons figurines. But even the FDM coarse filament printers um, can be tuned to give very acceptable results when printing these particular kinds of things in these particular scales. So the doors have really swung wide open for not just, of course, the little figures, but the terrain and the dungeons and the monsters and all the other things that go into such an endeavor. Painting is its own thing. I mean, it is still very much painting. Um, I have a printer that can print in up to 4 colors, and 4 colors is neat. There are very few 3D printers that can print in all colors, print a complete color thing, but I have no doubt that that's coming. Um, in a completely separate track, as I was saying, the Bandai Corporation for decades has been making these incredibly detailed, incredibly high grade plastic model kits, mostly of little robots. Um, and they have been well aware they're certainly positive about the very concept of kit bashing, the idea that you could buy two model kits and take some pieces out of one, take some pieces out of the other, and glue them all together and do something very unique. That's called creativity. Hey, why not? So 5 or 6 years ago, I think, Bandai explored a kind of a new path with a line of plastic kits called 30-minute missions. Not only were they simple, easy to build, and fairly cheap plastic robots, but they were plastic robots without a brand. They were not Gundam or any other kind of known brand, so they didn't have the markup, and they were much more free about kit bashing and doing your own thing and painting them the way you wanted them, or plastic, mixing and matching pieces. But they were designed from the beginning for mixing and matching pieces. In fact, you would buy a 30-minute mission robot kit, and then you could buy add-on kits for extra armor or extra weapons, which was kind of fresh and new at that time for Bandai. And they branched out a little bit further with a little set of kits with little armored women called like 20-minute sisters or something. And then last year, basically a year ago, they started a brand new line called 30-minute fantasies, or 30 minutes fantasy, which is basically kind of the same thing, except it's tuned for the more Dungeons and Dragons-y kind of thing. As you can see, the figures that you see at the top of the screen here are among that group of the 30 minutes fantasy line of toys, with lots of add-on gold bits and lots of ability to mix and match and customize. Now, these are still 6-inch figures. They're a whole lot larger on the screen and in real life than the 28mm figurines of the standard kind of Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. But they fill the bill in every other way. They're designed for fantasy, and they're very customizable, and they bring to the table something that Dungeons and Dragons players have never seen and never experienced, that customizable kit that you assemble yourself, the snap togetherness. You don't need glue, you don't need paint if you don't want to, because they come in lots of pre-built very nice colors and textures, and I see these two realms smashing together. And I think that they clearly, Bandai at least, is pushing in that direction. Now, obviously, part of the 30-minute missions robots that was attractive, that I stood up and took notice, 5 or 6 years ago when they first came out, was the fact that you could very easily 3D print a new shield or a new weapon yourself and stick it on your existing 30-minute mission robot, because it was very standardized and had very common standardized little 3mm holes that you could connect things into. So of course that's part of the value of that. And again, it comes to, I just see these two realms of kind of Dungeons and Dragons kind of fantasy figurine play, and the Bandai Giant robot customizable figure play coming together. Will they? I don't know. Maybe it's just my wishful thinking, or maybe it's just a flash in the pan that'll never go anywhere. I don't know. But I was really impressed when I just very recently stumbled across the 30 minutes fantasy line from Bandai, and I saw the connection, I saw the opportunity, and it made me immediately think that somebody must have cooked up a 30 minutes fantasy tabletop RPG rule set to go along with the plastic models. I haven't seen one yet, but if you have seen one or you know of it, then please let me know in the comments below. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. We sometimes wonder where the technology is going, and in these two realms, I'm happy to report the technology is racing along. So, here I am getting to the star of the show, and today we've got something great. And I mean that probably very sarcastically. This is Jack Link's chili cheese Fritos flavor. Now, Jack Link's is the 500-pound gorilla. You can find Jack Link's in every gas station in America, and if you've seen my other videos, you know that Jack Link's is just the kind of the standard 5 out of 10. This is what gas station jerky tastes like. From a bag. From a big processing company. So I don't have high expectations, but we should keep an open mind. I will crack it open. Smells like jerky. Maybe a little harsh, but it smells like jerky. And here's a piece. All right. So this is Jack Link's chili cheese flavor Fritos. So far, so normal. It's dry, but that also is very Jack Link's. Okay. Now I'm tasting the chili cheese Fritos flavor, and it is as subtle as it is artificial. Yeah. All right, well, that was an interesting experiment. I have to say, don't go paying extra for it, because I don't think there's any value that's extra there. I'm not getting anything that I wouldn't have gotten from the regular Jack Link's flavor. Even if you were a Frito lover, I would not say that this is something that you really need to eat. Nothing particularly bad or offensive about it, but I am absolutely as underwhelmed as I expected to be. So let's figure this out. I'm doing the jerky video after a while. I show McCoy being assertive, and I look at my last jerky video, which was here. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna look at Adam Para, as usual, is the person who lovingly gives me a comment from the old video way back in the day, and he asks about the Monarch show, which was the Legacy of Monsters Monarch television show about the Godzillaverse, and asked my opinion of it. Sorry it took me so long to get back to you, Adam, about that, but I can tell you that I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I think there's nothing at all wrong with the Monarch Legacy of Monsters television show. I thought it was fun. I think they had a lot of fun with the fact that they took the famous old actor Kurt Russell and his son to play him in another time, and they bounced back and forth between the two actors playing the same character in different times. And that was fun. I liked that. Everybody had a good time watching it. Didn't see anything wrong with it. I think it's well worth watching. I think, of course, the monster special effects are excellent. And I didn't see anything that was, weirdly, crazily out of bounds. The thing about Japanese television is that they're not as precious with their IP and their vision of how it ought to be as American movie makers are. And it's especially if you look at the entire canon of Godzilla, you see dozens of directors and dozens of writers putting their own personal stamps on Godzilla, to the extent that Godzilla and the other monsters can undergo some extreme makeovers from movie to movie. You know, with crazy things like Kaiser Ghidorah and Death Ghidorah. You know, who thought up that? You know, so having the American show do some fun things with a Godzilla vs. monster, or maybe come up with a new Godzilla vs. monster that no one's ever seen before. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That sounds great to me. Yeah, I enjoyed Monarch a lot. All right. Well, that was a fun episode. I hope everybody had a good time. And I know it's been a while, but I have another few jerky bags to eat at some point, so I'm sure I'll be back with another jerky video. Until then, thanks for watching.